Hi, I'm Geeta Nadkarni, founder of Impact with Influence, and I can't wait to introduce you to Megan Pennington, who's one of our clients. She is a food intolerance specialist and a certified holistic health practitioner. And her program is one of a kind. So I can't wait for her to tell you about it. I just want to tell you a little bit quickly about what Impact with Influence is about. So what we do is we help people who are coaches, who are consultants, find words to express their deepest purpose, design a high ticket program around it, learn to sell it, and then publicize themselves so that they position themselves as the go-to experts in their industry. All of it, all together, done in 8 weeks. So you can go from kind of struggling, not finding the right clients, not able to connect, not able to articulate what it is you do, to actually having a thriving 5 or 6 figure a month business in 8 weeks. So without much further ado, let's talk to Megan, who has been one of those clients and has experienced some of the shifts that I just told you about. Hi, Megan. Tell us a little bit about your program.
Right, I'm a food sensitivity specialist. So what that means is that I basically help people overcome inflammation in the body. But what's different from what I do compared to like your doctor or a dietitian or some other practitioner is that I work at it from all angles. So we do food sensitivity testing to really get to the triggers that are causing that inflammation, which ends up creating a whole bunch of physical relief from symptoms. But then we make sure that we deal with the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, all the other aspects that also create inflammation and disease in the body. So we basically make sure that it never comes back. So you don't just heal your symptoms, you go from surviving to thriving, which is my passion.
And it's so sexy because I remember when we were helping you craft your message, Megan, you told us kind of how you got into, and this is one of the things we always explore with clients, is like, what's your backstory that made this a passion? We feel for the energy behind that, and what's the story that holds the most energy? Because that's the story that's going to attract your ideal clients. And where do your ideal clients mirror your experience? And I remember the story that you told us was how you were like, in nutrition school, studying all the things. You had more knowledge than you'd ever had before. You knew all the stuff, and yet your health seemed to be going backwards. You were gaining weight, you had no energy, you were kind of in this blah place. And it was creating a lot of tension for you, not just from on a physical level, but just like, how does this make sense? The more I know, it's like the worse I get. And that is the essence, I think, of who your ideal client is. They know so much, they've been through so much, they've researched so much, and they're still stuck. And it feels like the more they know and the more they invest in time, money, energy, everything, the more backwards they go, because it's all conflicting at some point. And then how you kind of healed yourself and the breakthrough that you had, and how releasing and relaxing was very much a part of healing. So yeah, love that story. Love that story. So let's talk about where your business was at when we first connected and you decided to jump into Impact with Influence. What was bothering you? What was driving you nuts?
So I was dealing with the physical healing, and I always offered this holistic approach. I actually used to be a dietitian, a clinical dietitian, and I found that diet wasn't helping people. Diet is not the only piece. They would do everything right, and they weren't getting rid of their physical symptoms. And so I ended up transitioning into private practice so that I could implement these other pieces, but people would still come to me under the idea of dietitian with the expectation of getting a diet, with like, give me a diet, tell me what to do, I'm going to do it, and it's going to be okay. And I would try. So what I ended up coming up with was this, the solution that ended up making the most difference for most people was a food sensitivity test. So I did that for many years and tested hundreds of people and got great results physically for many people, but they never wanted to go that step further. And I was getting to a point where I was trading time for money, and I knew I could do more. I knew I could serve better, and I had to communicate it differently. And I didn't know how to transition out of that state that I was in.
And let's dig into why you didn't know, because I don't know is a place that overachievers love to hide. And ask me how I know, right? This is how I know, is because I'm one of you. And so typically when people don't know how to make that transition, it's because there's a lack of permission around some piece there. And one of the belief systems that you brought in, Megan, was this notion that your clients would not want this extra mile. They would not want what felt like an extra, based on their expectations, because they had come to you with expectations of, and this is the truth, right? They came to you, they're sick, they're overweight, they've got rashes, or they're not able to gain weight and they're horribly underweight and they can't digest their food or whatever, whatever extreme they're on. And all they can think is, I just want to be normal. But that's where their vision of what's possible stops. But you knew that there was so much more available to them. Just, not having a rash or being able to gain weight or being able to lose weight, whichever they needed. That was not the end goal. That was just kind of the starting point, really, for where you knew you could take them. But a huge part of why you were not able to really structure your program the right way and sell the deeper meaning of what it is you do, the deeper essence, I should say, of what it is you do, is because there was a big push-pull happening inside you, right? And that was the source of that not knowing. So when we talk about mindset, like it's not just affirmations and bullshit like that. So talk about what that experience was like, because it was messy.
Yeah, so Impact with Influence was 7 weeks, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to structure my program this way. And a lot of stuff came up. I got stuck on one of the modules for like the rest of the program because I'm a perfectionist, so I wanted everything to be done and perfect before I would speak to anyone, before I could be seen. Like, God forbid it's not perfect before it's seen. And so I had to push past all of that and required a lot of support in order to do that. And then in Mastery, that's where I really came up hard against some very underlying beliefs that I didn't even know were there around my value, and if I thought that people would even benefit from these other pieces. And when I saw that, it was really interesting because I've always been I've been a holistically minded person. So I was like, where is this coming from? How can I not believe in this when it happened to me myself in university, when I released everything and ate whatever I wanted and healed all my symptoms? Like, where is this coming from? And so I needed a kick in the ass, and I got it.
and it's funny because there was a lot of resistance, and this is what happens. This is what the nature of the work is. Again, we're not the people who are like, yeah, we're going to give you, I've seen a lot of programs out there that claim to do mindset, but their version is kind of like mindset light. It's like, oh, chant some affirmations or do some meditations or do something that's a little bit surface level. And then when you bump up against something that feels like a cement wall, where the client just runs into something and it's like, nope, no, can't, won't. They get mad, they get sad. And when your client's pissed with you, which is what happened with us, that can be really triggering if you haven't done this deep work yourself, and if you don't have the right toolkit to kind of navigate what comes up there, because it's so healing. And I'm so grateful, Megan, that we went into that place and that you were willing to go there with us. Like, I cannot thank you enough, because it was just this next level of transformation that we all shared. Because when you break through that place, we break through also. We understand better how the tools work. We understand, like, whatever shifts in your consciousness shifts in our consciousness too. If you're on our radar and we're on your radar, it's because we share some beliefs around this. Some of that stuck energy was in us as well. And so we as a team sort of rallied around you. Like, there was the Slack channel backstage when all of that went down. It was crazy. And we were like, okay, how do we help? What do we do here? Like, what do we do next? And it was amazing. And thank you for the opportunity to dig that deeply, and thank you for going there with us and for your trust, because when we moved that cement wall, when you moved it, we all moved it together. What happened next?
Well, first of all, thank you for taking me there, because it released so much, like a huge relief from my shoulders. I didn't know how much it was weighing me down that this was there, because it wasn't even in my consciousness that it was there. It wasn't in my awareness. And so once it came to light and it got released, that was huge for me. And it ended up impacting my relationship. It impacted my business, of course. But what it also did as a practitioner is it allowed me to see just how deep I can bring somebody, and the immense relief that they can gain from that. And of course, that's going to translate into better health, because if you have something stuck in your gut or in your heart, and you don't move it, that is going to create disease or something. It's going to create something. So it allowed me to shift it not only in me and get the benefits from that, but it allowed me to see what then I can give somebody else. So because once you've done something yourself, then you can facilitate it. You've had that experience. Whereas before you were just like, yes, you can do this, but I didn't know that experientially. So it's a huge difference, like just huge.
I love that. This makes me so happy because now not only have we changed your business because it has led you to have a completely different conversation on all of your own sales calls, because that block that your prospects were mirroring to you is now, it's gone in you. It's not there anymore. So tell us, before we even get into the deeper layers of that, because this is, like you said, shifted the way you are now talking to your partner, or maybe your child, and all of that. What was it like? Because what was it like to get on a call with a potential prospect for your program where you're like, man, this person's perfect, but then they ran up against that belief, right? That belief of like, maybe they don't want the rest of it. Maybe they don't want all, because really what it was they don't want all of me. That's what it was. They don't want all of what I have to offer. They don't want the most precious to me part of what it is I do. They just want the outside. And I'm sick and tired of being judged by the outside. And that there was a whole layer of stuff there that we saw, and we were like, okay, we gotta get in there. We might need a sledgehammer. So what was that shift? What did that shift feel like for you having conversations with your clients?
So before the shift, I would go into a call and be very nervous because I was so attached to communicating it right. And like, it wasn't flowing because it wasn't clear in me. And so it had to come from my mind, which is much less flowy than when it just flows. And so those conversations were not flowy. And I hate that. Like you want to be able to coach somebody and be there for them and support them and love them. And if you're not able to do that because you're in your head, well, it just sucks. It sucks for everybody. They lose, you lose. And so that's what the conversations were like. And so I identified that something had to shift, wasn't sure what it was, started digging, and that's where Impact with Influence really ended up helping, is because sometimes you can't do it on yourself. You need someone to show you what is there that you can't see, and that is what I needed. And then after that shift, I had a client the next day and I made my first sale. It was literally immediate. Like I went into that call. Oh, it was effortless. She was already sold. All I had to do was not dissuade her, which is what I was doing in the other calls energetically, because they felt like I was uncomfortable, which I was. But this time I was just like, when she came up a little bit against a belief of like, oh, do you offer a lower end package that's not as big of an investment, I was able to stay in that power of like, this is what you want. You can go for a lower investment, but you're going to get to, she was 50, so you're going to get to 60, and some of the stuff is still going to be there, and you're going to be like, why didn't I just do the whole thing when it was available? And so she was like, yeah, sold. It was just that.
As effortless as that. And that's what flow is about. And that's why when we do messaging, it's exactly as you say, it's both. Yes, there is some power to, okay, how do you actually explain it? How do you find the right words and phrasing? How do you communicate the essence? But in order to communicate the essence, you must first embody the essence. And that's why we combine the kind of deep subconscious reprogramming that we do with the messaging piece, because one without the other, you just described exactly what that feels like, right? It's frustrating. You have the words, you say the words, they kind of work, but not fully. But you know what it's supposed to feel like. Deep down, you know what it's supposed to feel like, and it doesn't feel that way, and that's maddening. And so I love that we were able to go all the way and just kind of whoosh, just like dismantle that wall, because you've always known. The first story you told us, we knew you knew. Now we just had to get you back into that knowingness so that you could feel it, and then your clients could feel it from you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's what this work is all about. And that's why I love it so much. It never gets old. It doesn't matter how many times we do it. It's just like there's every layer we peel back on you is a layer we're peeling back on ourselves, which is a win-win for everybody. So Megan, what's next for you? Sort of, where are you taking your business? How does it feel now where you're like, are you excited about the next calls that you get?
Yes. So before, I was really inhibiting myself from being seen because I'm like, I don't want to have a bunch of calls that feel icky. So I was not really promoting. I wasn't sending out the emails. I wasn't doing social posts. But now, and it's kind of frustrating because I'm leaving like on Tuesday to go to Panama for 3 weeks. So I can't even dive in fully, but I can't wait until I
But
get
you
back.
can. That's the thing. You
True.
just turn your phone on now. There's no script required because you've got the knowingness and you've learned the way that we structure content. All you have to do is practice now. And there's no better place to practice than on a beach. I mean,
True.
if you're gonna practice, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
So I've wanted to jump on more calls because now I feel like if I can sell one person, I can sell 1,000. I wanted that little bit of feedback that was like the sign from whoever, the universe, that yes, you're on the right path. Yes, people want this. I always believed it, and I was losing that belief because it wasn't the experience I was having. And then I just needed to push past that so that it could happen. And then now I'm super excited. And now I feel like every call is going to be some version of that. And even if it's not exactly that, even if they decide that it's somebody else that they'd rather work with, I'm better in myself now, more centered and aligned with myself, that now it's not going to be a trigger because it's just what's best for them, and that's fine. It won't mean that they don't want me or my program or that I'm not enough. Like that's the part that was released.
and how does that show up in other aspects of your life if you're comfortable talking about that?
So in my relationship, for example, that comes up a lot. Where it was actually very interesting because where I was bumping up against the sales calls in my business was the same thing that was happening in my relationship. I started to become resistant to talking about mindset stuff. My partner would try and do NLP or hypnosis on me, and I would get so mad and like, I don't want you to click around in my brain and fix this. I want to be listened to, and I want to, like, I had very strategic like things that I was requesting, and it's not like me. Usually I'm more open to like, help me in any way, please, like let's do whatever feels right. And I was getting so resistant in that relationship, but also in my business. It was reflecting at the exact same time. And then that same weekend where everything hit the fan, my son also, who was kind of a traumatic experience for me, was homesick. So he was home with me 5 days, and I just went bonkers, and everything came at me from all angles at the same time. And it was perfect, but it was intense.
Messy.
And
Yeah,
it was
intense.
messy.
That's a
It was
great
very
word to
messy.
use. It was very messy and it was very intense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that we as a team have developed enough that when we saw that, we're like, this is an opportunity, we need to take it. Like,
Right.
her whole life is singing the same song. We need to join that chorus and just obliterate that wall right now. Like, bring it down. Start
Yeah.
singing. Yeah.
So I crashed, but then right away after, I regained my power because I was like, no, I'm not going to let anyone dictate how I'm going to feel. And I had to get to the bottom in order to like push back. I was letting everything push me, and I finally decided that I had to push back. And when I did, that's when things shifted in the relationship, in the business, in the with motherhood, all of it.
Right, and I love that you said that because that's always been my experience of life, and I've never been able to follow any of the business books or philosophies that kind of require you to keep things separate. And like, I don't know how to be a separate person in the different facets of my life. And so when things flow, they flow everywhere. When they don't flow, they don't flow everywhere. And so having creating an ecosystem where that is the conversation that we have, where we're like, your business is a tool that we're using for your spiritual and personal development. Like, that is literally what it is. Yes, we have business goals and all that jazz. We do too. We also want to make certain numbers for revenue and all that stuff. But if there is a block, that's a real opportunity to, and so we, like, I love that we don't shy away from it. You as clients don't shy away from it. We as a team don't shy away from it. And we can use freaking anything that the universe throws us as an opportunity to release that stuckness. And that, I mean, again, I can only say thank you because I'm so grateful for everything that happened that led us
Me too.
to this video. Thank you so much, Megan. What advice would you give somebody who's considering reaching out, talking to someone on my team, working with us?
Oh, for
Joining the
sure.
program?
For sure, book a call, because what the call is intended to do is to highlight areas that you might not see and stuckness that you might not see. And I really recommend that because we really we have blind spots and we really don't see it. No matter how much work we've done, no matter how spiritual or centered we think we are, no matter how much we meditate, there are blind spots that someone else will always be able to reflect back to you. And so book a call and then decide from there. There was no pressure. It was when I was on the call with you, I I went into the call being like, I know I'm going to buy this thing. I know it's going to be expensive. I know, but I already knew that. I was like, but I'm going to let her do her thing and I'm going to see if it resonates or not. But I had a feeling already just from your videos and your energy. And so
Good messaging. When you put out your
yes,
essence, the people who come to the calls typically will know. They know. And then you're
that's
tapping,
it.
you're helping them connect to their knowingness. That's what brings them to the call. That's alignment. That's great messaging. But yeah.
Right. And so it was just a matter of just like figuring out the details. And then I remember saying to you, like, it's funny that you said that number because that was the number that I thought it was going to be. It was like, it was
I
all,
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But there
hey,
was no, what I was trying to say was that there was no pressure. I didn't feel like I had to buy it. I felt like I wanted to and I felt pulled to. And if I hadn't, that would have been okay. And that's important to me because I cannot state how much I detest being sold to. That doesn't work. You need
agreed.
to be pulled. You go with something that pulls you. It's a soul message, and that's it. There's nothing else.
Thank you so much for your time, Megan. This is so helpful. If you'd like to find out more about Impact with Influence, the simplest thing for you to do is to go to impactwithinfluence.com. Impactwithinfluence.com. We also put out videos on YouTube. We have a public Facebook group called Messaging That Makes Money. You're invited to join, share your story, and participate in any of the live streams and hot seats that we do there. Looking forward to connecting with you. Bye.